Welcome to Learn to Live Stress-Free. This is Christine Wright with Dr. Robert Wright, Jr. of www.stressfreenow.info.
Hi, this is Dr. Bob, the Stress and Pain Relief Doctor, coming to you today from Auburn, New York, the home of Harriet Tubman. I'm very grateful to be here to have this opportunity to bring you on the Stress Free Now podcast series some information about Harriet Tubman combined with the black sailors. And so most people are familiar with the Underground Railroad and how Harriet Tubman was able to bring many people into freedom and using the Underground Railroad. However, there are many people who were able to escape using the help of black sailors. And so there's a combination of Underground Railroad, which was overland, and the black people who were freed by the seamen. And so many people have never heard that history. In fact, it was only recently when Vienna Carol made a presentation with her band while she was singing work songs from back in the day that I became aware that there's this whole other element of American history where black sailors were able to help enslaved people escape to freedom. And recently, I was in Nova Scotia, Canada, and what I discovered by going to the archives in Canada was that there are a whole series of people related to many of the people that Harriet Tubman had helped escape, because those people were clustered from the Maryland area, and there are many families who descended from people in Maryland who are living in the Maritimes in Canada, which is northeastern Canada. And Nova Scotia is the big place where lots of people are. And so they have a nice museum there which shows the black people coming from the United States, escaping into Nova Scotia and other areas of the Maritimes. The other issue is, I'd like you to know that you should visit the Reggie Lewis Museum in Baltimore, Maryland. And that museum amazingly shows the full 400 plus history of enslavement, of American chattel slavery. As you can see, I'm on a busy street. This is, her home is located on Route 34 in Auburn, New York. And so the thing is that she not only settled here, but I understand that she also brought in other indigent people and people in need, especially as they got older, and was taking care of a whole host of people. On a separate broadcast, I will delve more deeply into that history. And the thing that I want you to understand is that you had, on the one hand, you had the Underground Railroad, and then on the other hand, you had these black sailors who were both helping people escape. And so here's a key point. We were never slaves. We were enslaved by barbarians. Because think about it. What kind of people could enslave other human beings? That is the height of barbarism. And American chattel slavery is, in the history of enslavement, is one of the worst. And so whether you look at one of the things that I came across in the archives in Nova Scotia in the library was there were encyclopedias of enslavement worldwide. And so it's not just here. We give honor to Harriet Tubman, but we really need to take a look at this larger issue. Enslavement was worldwide, and this is in the context of talking about reparations. We need to know the full damage that was done to black people worldwide, because you had enslavement in the Caribbean, you had enslavement in South America, you had enslavement in the United States. And the thing is, in the context of what's going on right now in the United States, where certain people are trying to erase the painful history, this would be like equivalent to when people try to say that the Jewish Holocaust didn't happen. And so American enslavement did happen, and we still have huge vestiges from that enslavement period. And in fact, it's not just Jim Crow 100 years ago. We could see so many things in our society. We've got all these so-called invisible tripwires that are preventing black people and other people of color from being able to move forward. So here would be an example. I was talking to a white Hispanic real estate broker in Florida, and then she told me that she had been in human resources previously, and she was working for a company in Miami. And so one day she went to her boss and she said, you know, I notice when I get these job applications, there's some initials on certain applications, but I have no idea of why it's there or what it represents. And her boss told her, said, oh, that says BM. That means the person that for that application is a black male. That means do not hire. And so there are all these white privilege codes and systems still embedded, and that was in 2017. So we're not talking about that long ago. So unless you've been hiding in a cave or living under a rock, you could see, unfortunately, the legacy of Harriet Tubman still continues. One other thing I want to mention is that recently I was on a cruise, and the cruise, I was supposed to go to Monte Carlo and to Monaco, and a series of things happened. I got on the tender late, and so by the time I got to shore, I had missed the bus for my shore excursion, which I had paid for. However, that was an example of the universe blocking so that I could get the real deal, so to speak. So because I missed my my bus, I walked up these stairs, and when I came to the top of the stairs, to my utter delight, what did I see? I saw a sign that said Josephine Baker Causeway. And I said, oh my goodness, it was meant for me to miss my bus, because if I had taken the bus, I would have never been here. And here's the thing. Josephine Baker left the United States in the 1920s because of what was happening in the United States, similar to what's happening in the United States 100 years later, because of Jim Crow. And so, for those that you don't know, Jim Crow is still going on, okay? I got people, I was in Fort Lauderdale area waiting for my wife back in 2000. Must have been 2016. What it is, it was a week before the presidential election, whichever year that was. I believe that was 2016. In any event, I was in the parking lot, in the Walmart parking lot, waiting for her, and a guy with in a huge Ford 150 pickup truck that was red. He was dragging a huge broke with a white noose in front of my car right before the election. And then, the day before the election, this is the next series. This is in 2020 or 2019, November. It was November, and it was the day before the presidential election. And a lady pulled up in a huge white SUV in front of my house. I was sitting on the porch smoking a cigar. It was about 11 o'clock at night. She rolled down her window and she said to me, "Better not vote tomorrow." So this was in the last presidential election cycle. And so I took that as motivation, just as you should, anytime an impediment comes in front of you, not to be dissuaded, but to use it as motivation. So not only did I vote in the election, but I was the 10th person online. I got there 35 minutes before the polls opened, and I voted. And so I say to you, just like the idiotic rules passed in Georgia, making it illegal to give people waiting online bottled water so that they don't pass out while they wait hours in the sun to vote. I'm saying to you, this is 2023, the nonsense continues. So I'm very happy to be here to honor the memory of Harriet Tubman. But what I'm saying to you is that you have a responsibility to do whatever you can in whatever sandbox that you're in to tend your own garden, because this nonsense of white privilege and trying to keep people of color down has not ended. And so I'm in Auburn, New York, and it's a privilege to be here. But as you could see, the place is closed, so I can't show you anything inside. But I'm just going to do a quick pan to give you an idea of the various outbuildings here. As you can see, it's quite lovely. There appears to be a barn, and you can see here there is a sign that says Harriet Tubman Bicentennial 200 years, 1822 to 2022, City of Auburn. And it is a shame, a crying shame, that in 2023 that the same issues that existed 100 years ago are still playing out in the United States. And so as you can see, this is a lovely property. They've done a very wonderful job, and unfortunately it's closed. I understand it's being renovated, but I will return when it is open, and if it's allowed to take pictures, I will take pictures and post them up on my blog. And if it's allowed to take video inside, I will do that similarly. And so I want to encourage you to take your children to see sites like this, and so that that just as other people say about the horrors from their history, never again. And so I want to close with this thought. We were never slaves. We were enslaved. And we have to, if we're going to be honest, we have to talk about the black leaders in Africa that sold us out. Because the more you know about how the enslavement process worked, you can't just say this is something that white people did. No, this is something that black people did to themselves. And so I'm saying to you, go look at primary sources. Go to your library. Go to your archives. Take your children. Let them see, so that we can say never again. because this is 2023, and the same nonsense that was going on in 100 years ago in 1923 is going on today. Somewhat different forms, but still very insidious, with the same aim to try to stop your role. And so somebody said one day that America is open for business, and I would love to see that to be true, right? Reggie Lewis wrote a book, and the title of the book was "Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun?" To my utter amazement, when I went down to his museum in Baltimore, I thought the museum was going to show his life and times, but it was just the opposite. They just had 2 panels about Reggie Lewis. It really was about the 400 plus years of the enslavement process, chattel slavery, that took place in the United States. And the exhibit in Baltimore at the Reggie Lewis Museum, every public school student needs to see that, because that is real history. This is what really happened. And interestingly enough, because it's in Maryland, they have a whole segment about the black people in Maryland. And then, as I mentioned before, I discovered that the sailors took many of people from the Maryland area up to the Maritimes in Canada, and Nova Scotia is the capital of that area. And so there are many people in Canada, in the Maritimes, that have their roots in the state of Maryland and the surrounding area. And so that was a huge surprise to me. And the people were very friendly. I was welcomed, and I will go back there. But this is Dr. Bob signing off today from Auburn, New York. And it is an honor and a privilege. And I want to thank Vienna Carroll, who is a historian, a musician, and just a wonderful human being, for giving me and others the tip that besides the Underground Railroad, which was overland, that there were black sailors that probably helped many more people escape via ships on the sea, etc., and dropping people in New York and Rhode Island and all the way up to Canada. So pretty amazing that this is a very, very little known aspect of history. So I want to encourage you to start digging down, and you don't have to get depressed. The thing is, this should impress you with, look how far we've come and look how much further we have to go as a society. And so this is Dr. Bob from StressFreeNow.info, wishing you well and hoping that you are able to get out there and travel. Since the pandemic lockdowns, many people weren't able to go anywhere except people that were very rich. And so now that the green travel light has come back on, I encourage you, whether you take a domestic trip, do a picnic in the backyard, because all the research today is now showing what we already knew, because this is a case where, again, reductionist science is catching up to the reality, late to the party. But the new studies are all saying this, that immersing yourself in nature is good for you. Not only is it good for you, it helps boost your mood and it improves your cognitive capacity. Well, that to me is a no-brainer, which is that, being in the woods, being at the ocean, being a lakeside, being anywhere surrounding plants and trees, and if you can't do that, have plants inside your house. But in any event, this is Dr. Bob wishing you well and hopeful that as more people learn the real history of America, that we can change it for the positive. This is not to dwell on negativity. This is is to enlighten you and illuminate, such that the statement that many wise people have made, if you don't know history, it will repeat itself. And so we want to make sure that doesn't happen again. So just like the Jewish Holocaust, they want to make sure that that doesn't happen again. We want to make sure that enslavement doesn't happen again. And I just want to emphasize this. This is not just about what white people, some white people. This is about what some black people did too, because black leaders in Africa sold us out. That's a fact. It's a painful fact. And then what you're going to find out when the Martin Luther King papers are released in 2027, you're going to see the black leaders inside the United States that sold us out. So I'm sure it will be heavily redacted, but you will be able to see that, part of the issue of why people have their foots on our necks is because of our own people who sold us out. That's very painful information, but we gotta deal with it. So this is Dr. Bob signing off from Auburn, New York. Until next time, be safe and be well.